You've probably heard that the Tour du Mont Blanc is one of the most famous treks in the world. But what is it actually like to walk 105 miles through France, Italy, and Switzerland? And even more importantly, how do you make this dream a reality? In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly what you can expect if you hike the TMB, including lodging, food, where do you go to the bathroom, and how to get reservations. And make sure you stick around to the end of this video where I will be doing an exact cost breakdown for this trek. Hi, I'm Mel, and I have walked the TMB twice. So what is it? What is the Tour du Mont Blanc? The TMB is a 105-mile hut-to-hut trek around the Mont Blanc Massif. That means that you are hiking in a circle around Mont Blanc and you pass through France, Italy, and Switzerland. Hut-to-hut trekking means that you are not camping. Instead, you'll stay in cozy mountain lodges called refugios or even hotels along the way. And good news, because it's hut-to-hut, you don't have to cook or carry a tent. But you do need to carry your backpack or a day pack if you decide to pay for the luggage transfer service. I absolutely love this mix of nature and comfort that hut-to-hut trekking provides. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. So how long does it typically take to walk 105 miles? The TMB is typically done between 7 and 11 days, plus one rest day if you choose one, and I highly recommend that you do. I'll tell you why later in this video. If you choose to do the TMB in 7 days, it is going to be intense. So I would only recommend this if you are a very experienced and a very fast hiker. Many people choose to do the TMB in 11 days, which for me personally is a very comfortable pace at around 10 miles per day. And just a quick side note, the Ultra TMB is a famous marathon where people run the entire 105-mile circuit in like 34 hours. It's absolutely nuts, and they do this every year at the end of August. When you're out there hiking and you're struggling to get up those hills, people will actually run by you, and it just catches you off guard every single time to see people just running through those mountains. I also just want to note quickly that this trek is very well connected with roads and towns all throughout, so that means that it's highly customizable. If you can't do the entire thing, you can do a shorter section of the TMB. Most people follow the traditional counterclockwise route, which starts in the town of Refuge in France, which is about 15 minutes from the outdoor paradise Chamonix. I highly recommend spending a few days in Chamonix either before or after your trek. You can go rafting, biking, paragliding. It also has great restaurants and some really fun day hikes. One of the reasons why the TMB is so popular and books up so quickly is because it has a very short window of trekking. The only time you can do this trek is between late June and early September, because that is when it's passable, when there's not too much snow on the trail, and it's also when the huts open for reservations. The closest international airport to Chamonix is Geneva, Switzerland. So I recommend flying into Geneva and booking a bus to Chamonix. But alternatively, you can fly to Paris, spend a few days there, and take a train to Chamonix. Next, let's talk about planning. So you want to do the TMB, but where do you even start with planning this adventure? Planning the TMB is not exactly a simple task because you are staying in a different location every night, and many of the mountain lodges book up really quickly. So you need to be organized. And you also need to make sure that you're not booking places accidentally that are 20 miles apart. So here are your options. Option 1. Book everything yourself. Again, because this is one of the most popular treks in the world, the lodges generally need to be booked 9 to 12 months in advance. I know that seems like a ton of time, but trust me, if you want to get easy reservations at the best huts available, that is the window that you need to book in. If you book later than that, you might get lucky, but it's going to be more challenging and take more time. Luckily, there's a centralized booking website that has a lot of the mountain huts on it, so I will link that website for you guys below. However, not all of the huts are available on this booking platform. Some of them need to be booked directly on their own private websites or even just by sending an email. And others, like like hotels can be booked on booking.com. If you want help booking the TMB on your own, I created a whole digital guide about how to book the TMB, and you can find a link to that in the description of this video. And honestly, the price is insanely low for the amount of time this will save you. The second option for booking the TMB is booking a self-guided tour. There are companies out there who you can pay a premium to book all of the accommodations for you, and they call that self-guided. And the third option to get on the TMB is to join a group trip. There are several companies out there, including my own company, Travel Light, that host group trips on the TMB. This takes all of the planning completely off your plate. You just buy your flight, train, please train, and show up to have the time of your life. If you're interested in doing the TMB with Travel Light in July of 2026, check the link in the description of this video to join the waitlist. So you know how to book all of your accommodations, so what are these places actually like? Let's talk about the refugios along the Tour du Mont Blanc. A refugio is a privately owned mountain lodge that is sprinkled throughout the Alps. You will also have the option to choose more traditional hotels in some instances. And side note, when you make your reservations, you can choose the half board option, which means that your stay is also going to include dinner that first evening and breakfast the next day. If you book early enough and you're okay with spending a little bit more money, you can probably piece together the entire TMB staying in private rooms with private bathrooms. If you're okay with sacrificing a little bit of comfort, then you can stay in the dorms, which is a classic TMB experience where you share accommodations with people from all over the world. Some of them have bunk beds, some of them have single beds, and all of the dorms are going to have a shared bathroom with a toilet and a shower. And they always provide a pillow and a blanket. I recommend doing a mix of both private rooms and dorms, just depending on your budget. It's really fun to get the dorm experience, but it's also just so nice to have a private room once in a while. If you've done the TMB before, comment your favorite refugio below. I'm curious to hear which ones you guys have loved. My favorite on my most recent trek was Cabane de Combal. The manager there was so friendly and took great care of our group. It had the best food that we had along the whole route, and they had single beds instead of bunk beds, which I just really appreciate because I don't want to climb a ladder to get in my bed. Am I crazy? I just don't want to do that. Okay, let's talk about food and water along the trail. Good news, again, this is not a camping trip. You're not going to be fetching water from the river and boiling it and eating instant ramen for 12 days. The accommodations along the TMB provide incredible food and you will not go hungry. Breakfast is typically served from 7 to 8 a.m. and it's buffet style. You'll find items like cereal, yogurt, hard-boiled eggs, ham, cheese, and toast. It's pretty much the same thing every morning. For lunch, you can order a picnic lunch from the Refugio and pick it up the next morning. And that's typically going to include a ham and cheese sandwich, chips, maybe chocolate, and a piece of fruit. One time, they gave us all an entire tomato. The other option for lunch is you skip the picnic lunch and you decide to eat at a Refugio along the way. Pro tip, if you plan to do the picnic lunches, they generally don't put any sauce on the sandwiches, like no mayo, no mustard. So something I always recommend packing is your favorite sauce, either in packets or you can pick up a small bottle of it in Chamonix or another big town like Courmayeur. I always have that on my packing list. And if you want to see my entire packing list, which I highly recommend checking out, you can see that in the video here. Dinner is served at your Refugio and typically starts at 7 p.m. Dinner is always a highlight because by this point you've been out hiking all day, you've been hot, you've been sweating, you're hungry, and you are just ready to sit down and eat. And luckily, dinner is a 3-course meal. It often starts with a soup. Sometimes there is a delicious pasta. We had chicken and rice a couple of times. And then there's always dessert. And dinner is served family style. So you can basically have all you can eat soup and the main dish, but not the dessert. You only get one of those. We tried. One of my favorite things about the TMB is the snack options. Honestly, just leave the trail mix at home. On our first day, we passed a little girl in a French town who had a lemonade stand, and she was serving lemonade and cookies. It's also not uncommon to pass refugios throughout the day that are making homemade pastries. Like, I'm talking cookies, brownies, pies. These are things you can just get in the middle of the day while you're hiking. It's heaven. Ugh, I almost forgot about the Nutella crepes. Refugio Motets had the best Nutella crepes, so make sure that you stop there. And note about dietary needs. The Refugios are so good about accommodating any dietary needs that you have, but you have to make sure that you email them in advance. So email them at least a month in advance and say, hey, I'm celiac or I'm vegetarian, vegan, whatever it is, and they will make sure to accommodate you. So you're out hiking all day, how do you refill your water? On a typical day on the TMB, you will pass several of these free-flowing water troughs. This is potable water that you can use to refill your water bottle or your water reservoir. The Refugios also all have potable water, and we typically filled our bottles up in the sink. The only time you need to filter your water is if you are drinking from a river or a stream. I did bring a water filter with me and I used it once, but you could probably get by the entire trek without needing to filter any water. So you're drinking all this water and eating all this delicious food and it's gotta go somewhere. Let's talk about bathrooms. On a typical day on the TMB, you're going to be passing through towns or passing by different refugios, so luckily the bathroom stops are plentiful. If you are not staying at the refugio, but you're just passing by and you'd like to use the bathroom, you need to buy something, whether it's a candy bar or a cup of coffee, in order to use their facilities. And another big surprise is that there are actually several outhouses along the TMB route. There were several days where we were just walking and all of a sudden there would be an outhouse that was actually pretty nice that we could use. And yeah, sometimes there's not really anything around and it's just a nature wee kind of day. If you do have a nature wee, make sure that you collect and carry all of your trash out with you. The TMB is stunning, but it can also be quite challenging. So let's talk about fitness. How fit do you need to be to do this trek? And also, what are the trail conditions like? The hardest part of the TMB is the daily elevation gain and loss. You can expect to be going uphill for at least 2 to 3 hours per day. You also need to be physically prepared to carry a backpack that has 15 to 20 pounds in it while you're going up these hills. And your backpack can be lighter if you do choose that luggage transfer option. You don't need to be some expert hiker to do the TMB. I had several people sign up for my most recent trip who had never done a multi-day trek before, and they all did great and truly loved this experience. What led to their success was training. You have to train for a multi-day trek. The more you train, the more you will enjoy it. The trail conditions along the TMB are generally excellent, in my opinion. There is no scrambling along the main TMB route. There are a couple short sections that are a little narrow or just a little sketchy, but for the most part, it's great. I hiked the AV1 last year, which is another hut-to-hut trek in the Dolomites, and I found that trek personally to be so much more challenging than the TMB. There was a ton of loose gravel, there were a ton of really narrow sections on the ledge of a cliff, and you're just not finding that on the TMB very often. The AV1 also challenged my fear of heights almost every day. Wait a minute, did this lady on YouTube just say she's afraid of heights, but she's talking about trekking? Yes, I know it's shocking to some people, but I am afraid of heights, you guys. So let's talk about that. If you're afraid of heights, you will be fine on most of the TMB. If you do the whole route, the most exposed feeling section is going to be the ladders section. The ladder section is located between Tres les Champs and La Flégère. I don't speak French, but I'm just doing my best. But even as someone who is afraid of heights, I found the ladder section to be really fun and I would totally do it again. So Mel, this just sounds like a ton of work. From booking the accommodations to training and everything in between. Is it actually worth it? I just gotta tell you that I have done this trek twice and I surely hope that I'm lucky enough to do it again one day, because you will find yourself walking around with your jaw on the floor at these insane mountain views that you get to experience, and then you're just enjoying the day and all of a sudden you get to a place that's serving this homemade hot slice of chocolate cake. Every single day on the trail, I looked at my partner Enzo, and this is my second time doing it, and said, this is the best day of my life.
This is the best day of my whole life. Woo!
So just in case you're not totally convinced, here are some of my favorite things about the TMB. Number one, once again, the non-stop views that you get while you walk on foot through 3 countries, France, Italy, and Switzerland, crossing borders on foot. It is just so cool. Next, sleeping in the refugios is just truly something that you should experience at least once in your lifetime. You get to meet people from all around the world and the vibes are just so high. It's like adult summer camp. It's just so much fun. Next reason I love this trek is that there are shortcuts. I am not a purist. I don't care if I walk every single step of the route. So when there are a couple sections on the TMB where you can skip a huge uphill or a huge downhill by taking a chairlift or a gondola and you get to see the same view, I'm gonna take those shortcuts, and I really just appreciate that they exist. And the final thing I want to talk about is spa day. I can't believe I waited until this long in this video to mention that there's a spa day. If you stay an extra day in Courmayeur, which I highly recommend doing, you can visit the QC Terme Pre-Saint Didier Spa. We spent the entire day there, enjoying their various hot tubs, saunas, and nap rooms. Yes, they have nap rooms, and they even serve a buffet lunch that you eat in your bathrobe. And the cherry on top, we got 50-minute massages. Yes, you are hearing me right. In the middle of this trek, we had a full-on spa day. I don't know about you, but life just does not get that much better for me. By this point, you're probably interested in just booking the TMB, but there's one big piece of missing information. How much does this cost? Just tell me, lady, how much does it cost? So here is the cost breakdown. And this, of course, is going to depend on how many days you spend on the TMB. Like I said, it's highly customizable. Here are a few expenses to consider before you hit the trail. First off, your international flight. If you are flying from the US to Europe, I generally find prices to be between $700 and $1,200 USD. The next category that's going to vary a lot is your gear. Do you already have a lot of backpacking and hiking gear, or are you going to need to get all of your gear new? And finally, don't forget travel insurance, which usually costs around $100. Here are the expenses that you're going to find once you arrive in Europe, and at the end, I'm going to total them all up for you, so don't worry about keeping track of the numbers. Your hotel in Chamonix. My favorite hotel to stay there is called Hotel Plan B, and it's pretty pricey at around $300 per night. You can also stay at an Airbnb or look for accommodation that's a little bit cheaper. Next, the refugios, including room and half board. These are generally going to run you between $70 and $130 US per night, depending on if you're staying in a private room or a dorm room. Your hotel room in Courmayeur is probably going to run you somewhere around $250 per night, and if you follow my recommended itinerary, you will stay there for 2 nights. The packed lunches generally run you about $17 per day, and I would suggest budgeting around $15 to $20 per day for snacks and alcoholic beverages. Obviously, increase that if you drink more. Make sure to budget a little bit for the chairlifts if you do plan to take the shortcuts that I talk about. You can budget about $50 for your shortcuts. The spa day, including a 50-minute massage and a lunch buffet, will cost you around $250. And finally, if you choose the luggage transport option, you will pay between $40 and $50 per transfer. So here is the estimated total for the 11 days on trail plus your rest day, including the spa and massage. This number does not include your international flights, your travel insurance, your stay in Chamonix, or any gear that you might need. And that grand total is, drumroll please, $2,000 US. Now you can obviously make this number cheaper if you spend less time in Courmayeur, if you don't go to the spa, if you don't eat a slice of pie every day. But what's the fun in that? And you can make this number more expensive if you choose to do all of those things, eat all of the pie, and stay in a private room every night. The TMB is an incredible, life-changing experience that I truly hope you get to do one day. If you want help planning and preparing for your Tour du Mont Blanc, check the link in the description of this video for the digital guide that I created. This will save you countless hours of time. It has a spreadsheet with all of the refugios I have stayed at and more, along with when they open for booking and their contact information. It includes the exact 12-day and 8-day itineraries that I have done on the TMB, a packing list, a list of expert tips, and a training plan. This digital guide will save you countless hours of planning. Check out the link in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Happy trails.